Today's first video, some news stories for you. Firstly, viewers, we know that Eritrea and Ethiopia have been very close allies in the past 3 years, especially when it comes to Tigray conflict. Ethiopian and Eritrean forces conducted joint military offensive on Tigray. And relations between PM Abiy and Isaias Afwerki, Eritrean president, have been enviable. Both were allies, both were seen as friends as well. But now a move from Eritrea is being seen as a sign of some tension in Ethiopia-Eritrea relations. Is there some sort of tension between PM Abiy and Isaias Afwerki, and relations are going to deteriorate in coming days? Secondly, Getachew Reda was interviewed by BBC News Hour a few hours ago. He was questioned about the presence of Tigray forces in Afar. Why is that Afar areas, some Afar areas are still under the control of Tigray Defense Force? Will TDF withdraw from Afar? What did he reply? We have an audio clip for you. Before that, Somaliland, its capital Hargeisa, where a massive fire engulfed a market in the capital city of Somaliland, Hargeisa. Scores of shops have been burnt, and most of these shops were owned by women. Large fire which engulfed a large area of the market. The fire continued for hours. Reportedly, it has been extinguished now, but loss is huge. Economic loss is huge. PM Abiy has also shared a statement. He has shown his sympathy, his grief over the economic loss suffered by the traders, the shop owners in the market in Hargeisa. Investigations are underway about the cause of this huge fire, which is going to hit Somaliland economically. Now, viewers, we know that PM Abiy and Isaias Afwerki, they are seen as allies and friends. Both have made decisions with consultation, especially with regard to Tigray conflict. And we know that TPLF government of Tigray has been accusing that security apparatus of Ethiopia was being controlled by Eritrea, and that it was Isaias Afwerki who was calling the shots in Ethiopia. Relations, Abiy-Isaias relations have been enviable, very friendly. Now a move which has been made by Eritrea is being seen as a sign of some tension in Ethiopia-Eritrea relations. Eritrean ambassador Samere Russom completed his term last month. He remained appointed as Eritrean ambassador to Ethiopia for almost 3 years. Almost 3 years ago, Ethiopia and Eritrea restored diplomatic relations after a breakup of several years. So when relations were restored, after that, Samre Rissom was appointed as Eritrean ambassador to Ethiopia. He was a full-fledged ambassador. And last month, he completed his term, he returned. Now, a new diplomat has been appointed by Eritrea to Ethiopia. But he is not a full-fledged ambassador. He is charge d'affaires, means an in charge. He is not a full-fledged ambassador, but Eritrea has downgraded its diplomatic presence in Ethiopia. Instead of appointing a full-fledged ambassador, Eritrea has appointed a charge d'affaires, an in charge, a relatively young diplomat, Beniam Berhe, who has been appointed as charge d'affaires in Ethiopia. On the other hand, before the appointment of Beniam Berhe, Ethiopia announced the appointment of ambassador to Eritrea. His name is Fikado Bijine. He served as in charge of culture and climate change in Ethiopia. Then it was announced that he would be appointed Ethiopian ambassador to Eritrea. He is a full-fledged ambassador. He has not taken charge so far in Eritrea, but his appointment was announced a few days ago. Fikado Bijine's appointment as Ethiopian ambassador to Eritrea. But after that, Eritrea appointed a charge d'affaires instead of appointing a full-fledged ambassador. Now, reportedly, Ethiopia is also considering a similar move. It might appoint a charge d'affaires in Eritrea instead of a full-fledged ambassador. What does this development indicate? Why is Eritrea downgrading its diplomatic presence in Ethiopia? Ethiopia is not the only country where Eritrea has a charge d'affaires instead of an ambassador. In Sudan, no ambassador, a charge d'affaires. In Ethiopia, charge d'affaires. In Djibouti, Eritrea has no ambassador. In Yemen, Eritrea has no ambassador. But in Saudi Arabia, Eritrea has a full-fledged ambassador. So, it means that now Eritrea is treating Ethiopia and Sudan at the same level. Saudi Arabia is of significance, importance for Eritrea. That is why there is full-fledged ambassador there. But in Sudan, there is charge d'affaires, and in Ethiopia as well. Does it mean that relations, PM Abiy, Isaias relations, Eritrea-Ethiopia relations could deteriorate in coming months? It could happen. Ethiopian government's decision to find peaceful solution to Tigray conflict, to put an end to Tigray war, we don't know how was it received by Eritrea. Did Eritrea welcome the withdrawal of Ethiopian government forces? Did it welcome any talks between Tigray and Ethiopian government? I have not seen any such statements. Eritrea has been accusing TPLF of being behind one of the main causes of instability in the region. And it has been their policy, Eritrea's policy, to contain Tigray government, to contain Tigray militarily, to contain TPLF's political power as well. That is why both Eritrea and Ethiopia joined hands against Tigray government in November 2020. Let's see, will Ethiopia appoint a full ambassador to Eritrea, or will it downgrade its presence, diplomatic presence in Eritrea? That remains to be seen. Secondly, was Getachew Reda, Tigray presidential spokesperson, member of Tigray's TPLF's Central Committee, was interviewed by BBC News Hour a few hours ago. He was asked several questions, especially about the withdrawal of Tigray forces from afar. Why is that Tigray forces are not withdrawing from afar? We know that air trucks have started arriving in Tigray. A few hours ago, I updated you about the arrival of 13 WFP trucks in Mekelle, but still no signs of the withdrawal of Tigray forces from afar. What did Getachew Reda say in response to the question about withdrawal of TDF from afar? Watch this clip. Thanks for watching.
But for us, it is not just about 20 trucks or even 1,000 trucks. There are millions of people who are in the brink of starvation, the brink of death. The most important focus should be whether there is unfettered access for humanitarian aid.
Why hasn't aid been flown in? What's stopping that from happening?
The airport is open. Of course, there are planes coming. The reality, however, is that even if we were to deploy all the heavy-duty planes in Ethiopia or in Africa, it would still be very difficult to imagine a situation where air transport could satisfy even a fraction of the need. But there are some ICRC, WFP planes coming every other day, I should think, now every day, carrying only a very insignificant amount of medicine or other non-food items.
I was going to ask you, is there a need for medical equipment, drugs, HIV drugs, insulin, that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, in Tigray alone, we have about 50 to 60,000 HIV positive people who have literally run out of medications. And of course, there are diabetic people with hypertension, people even going through dialysis. They have literally nothing to depend on.
Why won't you pull your forces back, though, from Afar, as the central government has been demanding?
Look, we are in part of Afar because there has been a clear and present danger to our security, okay? Once we have neutralized the threat, we have no business sticking around. And we will do whatever it takes to make sure that we settle whatever differences we have with the Afar. But to say that such a set of circumstances should be used as a condition to deny critically needed humanitarian aid is to be complicit with an international crime.
Of course, much of the world is very much concentrating on the war in Ukraine. Do you feel that the international community could be doing more to end the conflict in your region?
We can understand why it is now obsessed with Ukraine, but it behooves the international community to also give a share of attention to the conflict in Tigray and other parts of Ethiopia.
And that was Getachew Reda speaking to us from Tigray's capital, Mekele.